Guys, great to see you. I'm here on a cloudy, kind of gloomy Sunday to talk about something that's also really important. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about pronouns and first, what are they and why they're important, and the importance of people normalizing asking people's pronouns. So this has kind of been in discussion a lot in the last decade, I've seen, which is fantastic. I'm really glad that there's starting to become more of an open dialogue about this. So pronouns are he, she, they. There's also other pronouns as well that people use. And why are they important? So pronouns are often tied into someone's gender identity. So just an important thing is also, just because someone might look very feminine, if they're, maybe they look like a feminine woman or they look like a really masculine man, their pronouns might not necessarily be what you expect. And by misgendering someone, it often leads to a lot of distress in a person. So that's really important to try to avoid, is that as someone who is misgendered a lot, all the time, daily basis, it's one of those things that doesn't seem at first like it's a big deal, and that once or twice you can kind of shrug it off and be like, okay, it's not a big deal. But over time that does build up, and it kind of leads, to some distress in the person being misgendered, because they, are reminded that people are perceiving them differently than they perceive themselves, and that causes cognitive dissonance and all those not fun things. So the great thing that's happening now is that people, including cis people, so cis people are non-transgender people. All that means, if people say cis, is that it means that they identify with the sex they were born, or with the gender that is tied in directly to the sex they were born, rather than identifying as different from what they were born. So people, including cis people, are starting to ask pronouns and put their pronouns in email signatures, or put their pronouns in profiles online and social media and things like that. And that's great because it normalizes it, and it keeps it from being this really awkward thing. And just being able to just kind of ask someone's pronouns, just be like, hey, when you're introducing yourself, it's like, hi, this is my name and these are my pronouns. It removes the ambiguity, and it keeps you from kind of guessing what someone's pronouns might be and getting it wrong. And a lot of the time, especially if someone isn't cis, it's really stressful on their behalf to stop every person who's misgendering them and be like, no, actually my pronouns are this. So by leading with that, and by kind of opening a dialogue about, what pronouns are and how to make it more normalized, to just kind of ask, you know, what are your preferred pronouns? I think that's a great thing. I'm glad that we're moving in that direction. That's the reason why it's really important. And I think it's important to explain this because, it might seem redundant when you see someone who, presents as like a very feminine woman being like, hi, my pronouns are she, her, or someone who presents as a very masculine man and he's like, hi, my pronouns are he, him, and I think people are like sometimes reacting like, duh, of course they are, but it's just a way of not making assumptions about people, which is the ideal way to build relationships in, careers and in personal relationships. It's just not looking at a person and by what they look like or what they seem like, coming up with all of these, ideas of exactly how they might identify or present or prefer. So yeah. And the important thing is, if there's pronoun slip-ups and someone's told you their pronouns and, you get them wrong, stuff happens. I'm sure there's no one out there who's going to get extremely upset at you if you make an honest mistake once or twice. The important thing is to, take it seriously, so you are making an effort. And I think that's all people really expect, is that it's not really an expectation, if you don't know, that you will kind of like immediately know what someone's pronouns are. But if you do find out, you ask, you find out, make an effort to use those pronouns, because there's a reason someone gave you those pronouns, right? It's because that's what makes them feel most comfortable. And in the end, we're all just humans trying to get along and feel more comfortable with each other. So I think that's super important just to keep in mind. So I've put my pronouns in my Twitter profile, and I'm trying to be more open about those. So I prefer they them. Um, and again, this is kind of been a journey for me as well. I'm trying to figure out what pronouns fit best for me. So right now it's they them. I'll also use she her on certain social situations. Not because I feel that they fit me best, but sometimes because it's, for me at least, it's impractical to insist on usage all the time. Especially because I'm non-binary. I think that non-binary people sometimes struggle a little bit more than this because binary pronouns like she, her, he, him. Binary trans people have a lot of difficulty getting people to correctly gender them sometimes, but at the same time, because they're binary, it's sometimes easier for people to just kind of mentally make the switch, I think. Like, oh, okay, like she was a her, now we're going to refer to him as a him, So that's sometimes easier for people to make the mental switch. I think for non binary people, because you could present as many different things. I mean, and this is also important, is that I'm aware that I kind of appear in some ways to kind of be a very, not stereotypical, but I'm androgynous, and that's, I think, the mental image that most people have when they think of non-binary people, is that they're androgynous. But not all non-binary people present that way. So, you might have someone who's been assigned female as birth, they identify as non-binary because they don't completely feel like they fit inside the box of woman or whatever, but they look really feminine, which is just how they've chosen to present. And that's the point where I think asking pronouns is really important, because then you aren't making the assumption that those are the ones they prefer. So yeah, so I think non-binary people, especially with pronouns, I think that's the big struggle. So yeah, I think it's also just feeling out which ones make you feel most comfortable, and deciding for, individually in what situations those make sense to make that known. I think it's really important. And always, like, stay safe when you're doing this if you're someone who's kind of feeling this out. But in general, I think the more that people normalize pronouns, the easier it gets for the rest of us, It's just a way to kind of make all those relationships work out and make things, a little bit easier for people who are struggling. So, yep. So this is just kind of a one shot on that, because it's something that's been coming up a lot. And I hope it's useful. And if anybody has any questions about pronouns or about any kind of aspects of those, because I know it sometimes can be a bit complicated for people, feel free to shoot me a message on Twitter. I'm active on Twitter, or drop it down in the comments, and I'll be happy to get to it. So, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.